It's mainly dragons and vaginas on my Audible, to be honest, guys. But yeah, that's
You are Game of Thrones target audience.
oh my God.
Hello and welcome to Joy Agenda, the podcast all about joy with me, Jay Lafferty.
And me, Hannah Campbell. We're here today in the Monkey Barrel Studios, and this week we are joined by fabulous director, clown, comedian. It's the wonderful Elf Lyons.
Hello.
Hello, Elle.
Hey,
How you doing?
I'm really good.
Good.
I feel like I should say something more interesting, but right now I'm really good.
You're good. Well, you've literally just come to us straight from a workshop. You were doing a clowning workshop here in Edinburgh.
Yeah, it was great. I really love I just like working with people. It's nice.
Yay.
And also it's quite efficient. Now I've got workshops down to a sort of T. And how I know exactly what we're going to do and exactly what the objectives are and the goals. And so I quite like being like a dominant boss. And I'm like, boom, 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 boom.
Dominatrix clown.
Yeah, dominatrix clown, yeah.
What's your favourite part of doing the clown workshop? Is there a certain part that you like doing the best, or is...
I love all of it,
All of
but I
it.
really like it when people will find something and when everyone laughs, when they're all laughing at each other and you go, great, because sometimes... You know, when you teach so many people and you know not everyone's going to go on to being... Well, you hope so, but also the reality is only like 3 people will go on to be full-time performers maybe in 5-10 years' time. Mm-hmm. But everyone walks away knowing that they were funny at some point and that everyone laughed. And that as long as they came home and go, oh, I'm really tired. I had a really... they feel like they've been to the gym.
Yeah, good workout.
Sorry, I ate that Guinness cake so quickly.
Oh, is that what you were eating? I was like, it does look delicious.
It was because I was so tired, and teaching the workshop so because you're just basically for like a whole day you're just watching people and going, right, what do you need help with? Oh, you need to be like this. Oh, this is your problem. Oh, this is what we need to help. And then I'm like, I need sugar. Otherwise I can't. And then I go, oh dear.
How long are the workshops?
This one was quite short. It was only 5 hours, but it was 5 hours with
quite
like
a long time.
20-minute break. Okay. Because otherwise it's I feel like it's a waste of their money. If, you know, when you pay, you've done clown workshops or anything, but you know when you pay a lot for workshops and they spend the first 90 minutes playing a game, and I hate it when everyone sits in the circle and they're like, so let's just share. And I'm like, no, none of that. Nobody really wants to know what everyone else is going through. They just want to know what they need to do to, so I'm like, yeah. Nobody knows. No one knows anything about anyone else.
Yeah.
We just get straight into it.
I appreciate that though. Like, I mean, I've done the workshops a few years ago, and I still remember to this day I was a sexy washing machine.
And you were a really good rocket. I remember your rocket was very, very good.
There we go.
Has been described as a rocket before.
I've been described as a rocket, yeah. Not the
She's
first
a bit of a
time.
rocket, her.
Not the first time, but if anything, I just proved my worth as a rocket.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was a rocket and a sexy washing machine.
Sexy washing machine. What did that entail?
Well, it started off as just a washing machine, and then we were adding elements to it, and then Elf suggested maybe make it a little bit, you know, like if you were a washing machine that was like trying to, you know, get a little bit of action.
Yeah.
Out of context, it does make me, as a teacher, sound predatory. I think.
Do you ever make up it more sexy?
When you take comments out of context, it's like, wow, these workshops sound problematic.
It was definitely not problematic. It was very fun, and I think as well, like very, you know, when you're saying, oh, what do people need? Because that for me as a comic, I've always struggled with that kind of sexy bit, because when I first started comedy, I was only like 21, and it was all it was. Do you know what I mean? That was everything. Anytime I went on stage and any reviews I got always commented on the way I looked and what I was wearing, and so then I really shied away from that as I grew as a comic, and then I was trying to like kind of, I guess, find my way back to like, well, you know, that is sometimes part of who I am and what I am, and how do you own that? And so we found a little sexy washing machine exercise.
Yeah. I love the washing machine exercise.
It was great.
It's just fun.
It was really enjoyable.
Yeah, I love it. I love teaching.
That's so nice.
I love it. It's my favourite thing.
And it's so like you know, I think you either get performers who do like teaching or you don't, because it's like, as a performer, it's just all about you, basically. Yeah. And particularly stand-ups, because you're not having to share the stage.
We're all very narcissistic.
So narcissistic.
Yeah.
And so to actually, because I feel the same when I do the kids' comedy workshops, it's like so fun. I just love that whole. You feed off other people's energy. You see what they're doing. You feel like you've actually, done something worthy.
Yeah. But you're just making. I think it's with our industry as well. There's no HR, and there's so much bad practice. And even the people who think they're doing a good job, there's still so many problems because it's lots of individuals who run their own individual businesses, so aren't held accountable to anyone else. So the least you can do when you work is just try and spread a better wave of goodness and community. Or I think with our job.
Totally.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I sort of started with a point and then went, I'm tired.
We will ask you the question that we've brought you here to ask. So, Elf.
Yes.
What brings you joy?
Oh God.
And it can be big or small, whatever you like.
Do you know what? I think it's probably, I'm going to say teaching. I think it's probably teaching the workshops. But then I think it's probably also, that and Audible. I think that and Audible. I was going to mention planes, but yesterday I bet you and I did a podcast and I just spoke solidly to Sam Lake about planes. I think we were expecting it to be a funny podcast, but I was like talking really seriously about
I literally saw Sam before this and we went, what did you talk about? And he went, as long as you don't talk about planes with Elf, then you'll not cover what we talked about. So...
Yeah, so that was mainly it.
So if you want to see us talking about planes, check out Sam Lake's podcast after this.
There you go. Probably teaching. I think I just really love work. I love getting shit done. Like, I just love it. Like, I get really off on it.
Are you quite an organised person for getting work? Are you a bit of a procrastinator or?
No, I just get stuff. I just like getting it. I remember being brought up and my mum and dad, and I think again it's like a difference in upbringing and difference in like, because I'm from a different class to my parents, but my dad just, was of that generation where he's like, just do it. If you just want to do it, just get. Nobody's going to beg you to do it. Nobody's going to ask you to do it. So anytime I'd complain or be like, oh no, it's just so difficult for me, Papa, I want just want to be a comedian. It's so difficult. And oh God, it's really tough at boarding school right now, Papa. And I'm so, and he's like, just do it. Just get on with it. Because he's like, if you want to do it, just find a bloody gig and I will drive you to the bloody gig. And so I remember finding the comedy gig I wanted to do, circling it. And he's like, right, what do you have to do? And I was like, well, you've got to ring between the hours of 9 and 11. And then the man will give you a gig. And he's like, well, you've got to do that then. I was like, okay. I'm like, Papa, I've lost a gig in a year's time. Right, well, we'll go. And then so I cannot stand it when, especially boys complain about how they're like, I just can't. Or when, do you know what it is? When someone...
Sorry, did my face give me away there?
Just a tag.
When someone's just like... it is that phrase, if you want to get something done, give it to a busy person.
Yeah.
And the amount of times I've probably done other people's work because they didn't do it. And they're like, actually, I've got a lot. And one phrase I cannot stand is when I'm like, I've had a really busy day today. And someone else who's finally decided they're going to start doing stuff goes, oh my God, I've been really busy as well. And I know it shouldn't be a competition, but part of me's like, you think you've been busy? And then I have to remind myself, I really do love what I do. So I'm like, you've been busy. I've had the best day of my life. I'm exhausted, but I'm so fulfilled. I'm so fulfilled by what I do.
That you have perfectly described me when I walk into a green room and a comic without a child says, God, I'm so tired. And I'm like, oh really? You're tired? Are you tired? Were you up at 5 o'clock this morning after having no sleep from a night of being kicked in the face?
And that's just by your partner.
Oh, honestly, yeah. No, I totally agree. It's like if the whole busy person thing. Like I think, and I know for some people, part of the attraction of becoming a comedian is so that you don't have to have the life that you see all your friends having, like the 9 to 5 people. But I also enjoy that, like busyness.
Yeah,
it's like a two-way thing because it's when it becomes like I always try and remember in my head, my job is 1/6 of who I am. Like when I'm a comedian, great, Elf. But when I'm not doing it, it's Emily Ann. And bar my actual friends in comedy, the rest of it literally doesn't matter. If it made me really sad, I would just stop and then go, right, well, I'll do another job. Like, I think the problem is with our job, the ego. Once you get a lot of praise, you feel like you can't break out of it. But like, you've got your hobbies, you've got your family, you've got your friends, you've got your own relationship to yourself or your faith or whatever it is. Those are all these other factors. And you have to, because I think you meet a lot of other comics and you realise that this is everything.
Yeah.
And the new, especially when you put awards on it, that is your identity and your value as a human being. Yeah. So I have to step in and go, my value isn't my value as a human being. If I don't do anything, I'm still totally valuable to the world, because I think we can then live in that. If you don't do anything, then you get into that sort of very sad, depressed state. So I have to remind myself sometimes, I'm like, what am I running from? If I'm working all the time and that's what's giving me joy, I'm like, is that also because there's something else that's not working? I don't know.
That's really so insightful. That was great. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it was.
So,
I totally agree.
I've been having just, I think when you start the new year, it's those things where you're reflecting, you're looking at what happened the year before, what you've got in front of you in the year ahead. And like, I was having a conversation with myself and another comic about coming out of the industry, not because I was like, but when you like, do I want to do another year of this? Do I want to keep on this treadmill? And I think you have to, I think it's good to check in with yourself. Do I want to keep doing this? Because it is that thing of like, I don't know, because I've done this now since I was 21. I don't know how I would cope in the real world. Like, I am really worried about that ego part of myself of going, if I don't have the opportunity to stand on stage 4 or 5 nights a week, will I be a massive cunt?
Yeah.
Is that the outlet? Yeah.
Yeah, is that, do you know what I mean? Am I quite happy in all the other areas and aspects and, the school run and all that sort of stuff? If I don't, because quite often if I look on social media and I see people who are like ranting, because I only use social media for gigs and comedy based things. I would never in my wildest dreams think about going on somewhere and be like, well, I had this and this is blah blah blah. And but I'm very interested in these people because like I'll get pulled into these nothing that I've got any interest about, but just pulled into these things that people are fit. And I'm like, will I become one of those people if I can't stand on stage and say it in real life?
Yeah.
Like, will I end up in a forum and be like, well, I don't know what you think about these bollards, but God. I think the council put them in the wrong place.
Like, Jay's on Facebook again, fuck.
Yeah.
I think it's really fascinating about comedy, about you can say things that are so true that if you said in a conversation, people would react in a very different manner or think there's something going wrong or like you're being miserable. But if you bring it up on stage, everybody can laugh at it collectively. It turns it into a parody and it's like, well, that's so problematic as a society that the idea of complaining has to be performative or I'm sorry, it sounds a bit rambly, but like I found the things that really upset me, I can sometimes only talk about on stage.
Yeah.
Because it has to have, otherwise what's the point of me complaining about it? Because nothing's really going to change. So let's get a laugh out of it. Or it's really odd.
Or you get into that habit of when something bad happens, how quickly your brain goes, I could probably do material about this.
Yeah, this
could I turn this in? Almost like you're like, this must be, at least if I do that, then it'll not be as painful, which is a terrible way to do it.
But also in a horrible way, like nobody cares. Like, so there's one of my friends who's having a really tough time. I said, you have to stop asking for work on Instagram. You have to stop complaining that you're not getting gigs and you have to stop complaining that you're not being noticed by people because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. People, at the end of the day, we're animals and you want to stick to the strongest. I know it's horrible, but I think it is a genuine... People who are really positive online, people go to because you want to be... And if you start noticing negative things, like people who wake up and immediately go, I'm really tired. Or I'm really tired. You don't want to chat to that person.
No.
Because everyone's tired. Everyone's struggling. Everyone's got fucking shit on, and not destabilizing that or saying that their problems aren't valid. But you're like, there needs to be a different way that you exercise this or put this across because it just stops you getting shit done.
Yeah,
because you end up just sitting in it. It's like I was saying it to my dad. Actually, we were talking about things, and I was getting really sad because I feel like a bit like Edinburgh. After like last year, like couldn't have smashed it more, like got nominated for basically everything. And I had a really great time and all these reviews and then, but still like no work came from Edinburgh last year. Like, had to go straight back into teaching. And the reality of going, oh, it is still a very fixed industry. Like, it doesn't matter what the public think, but if people in the industry still think that you're not viable, or if they don't like you for whatever reason, you kind of, it doesn't really matter. And you go, okay, well, we just do it on our own terms. I was chatting about this to my dad, and, you know, he's in a different industry, but in his world, it's almost still the same. And that reminder of saying to my dad, like, it's like, when you die or when I die, there is a very high chance that there will be an obituary published about us in a newspaper, whether it's like a small newspaper or a regional one, but there will be one. I was like, but Mum, who's like the most important person to you, and Mum, who's one of the most important people to me, when she dies, probably won't. There won't be an obituary. There won't be anything in the paper because she won't have done something of. There are loads of people like, but does that mean that her life didn't mean it? Like, what does it mean with our jobs? Because the most important people in your world, like all of us, we're not gonna be remembered in 100 years' time. Like some of the best performers and artists and like scientists, nobody knows their name. Nobody can remember the name of the guy who made the telephone off the top of their heads, who changed our world. Yeah. Like, it doesn't matter. So I was like, all right, like, who fucking cares? Like, great, I had the best August. But that's just for August. Like, when I'm 90, I'm not going to be sitting there going, right, did I tell you I got 4 stars from the list? I have to remind myself every time, like, legacy and all those things.
It's so. I often think about that, like, if you're in a job that doesn't lend itself to what we've at, like fame and stuff, does that make you less important just because, like, if people worship like actors and stuff? It's like it's only because they're good at something that makes them famous. Their job just makes people know them. It doesn't mean there's people that, like doctors and thing, that will never get heard of, but they do incredible work. And it's that such a toxic thing of anyone that's got a bit of notoriety, we automatically think, well, they must be extra special. They must have to be remembered. You know, it's a really interesting.
No, totally, because there's people who are, people who work in care homes, people who are, do you know what I mean? Like people who are delivering babies, people who are saving babies, like all of these. There was the woman that works in Tesco's and speaks to all the, old ladies that come in, that she's the only person they speak to, like all of that. It's like, we just live in such a crappy, like, outward society that doesn't.
This is like the thing, like the mentality about jobs validity really pisses me off. Like, I heard this, like, it's like when it comes to education, or this idea that education has to lead towards some sort of economic benefit. And it absolutely doesn't. Like, education is integral for anyone's sake. But I was listening to, one of those podcasts, one of those very popular podcasts, which is predominantly 2 white men who've, talking about politics because they've been in politics, and, very well listened to. And it was when they were talking about education, and there was a phrase, and I won't be able to quote it exactly, but it basically gave the impression that university is for kids who are smart or privately educated, was the assumption that if you have big objectives with what you want to achieve, university is for you. But then it sort of went, but if you're from this education, this background, then you want to do a polytechnic. We need to encourage more polytechnic and apprenticeships. You're like, apprenticeships and a polytechnic degrees, etc., are fucking brilliant. What you've just made is a huge assumption on class about what type of job you want to go into, but also what that value is. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, when actually the better thing across the schedule system is, sorry, I sound a bit rambly, but me and my dad were like, he's fucking I hate them all, fucking wankers.
Yeah, that just sounds like utter nonsense. Those 2 prats were spraffing.
Exactly.
Yeah. I wish I could find the actual quote. Maybe it won't make the edit because it's not fully correct, but it really drove me. Subconscious snobbery really pisses me off.
Yeah.
I, one of the working class. Can you imagine if I was like some of the other comedians pretending to be working class? Oh dear.
For the gigs. For
the gigs.
I always think that's really bizarre. For the gigs. Okay.
What?
Exactly.
What are you talking about?
So that was so teaching. You had said that would brought you joy.
Yeah, I think so.
And then Audible.
That was the other
what
one.
are you listening to? And I'm an Audible head.
Oh my God, where to begin?
I am not. So
You're not
educate me in the world of Audible.
You get credits every month. Yeah, and then you get your books, you download them, and you do it on the go. They had for ages, it was really annoying because you wouldn't be able to download them on the go, but they've changed that now.
Oh, really?
So you can download them now straight to the phone.
I got so addicted to it, I ended up paying for like the Supreme, like the one where you get all the credits for a year.
Wow.
Because that one credit a month, I got a bit like, so fucking need another book. One more book. But do you know what was funny actually? So I get my Audible up. I love Audible. And this is probably, you know, when the things that you love, I've noticed when you start talking passionately about things you love, people get very bored, I've noticed. Maybe it's just in green rooms or just like people want gossip and they want you to bitch. And God, we all love a good gossip. But sometimes, you know, when you know they want you to complain about something. And I used to live with someone recently and I noticed the only time he really wanted to talk to me was when I wanted to complain or rant about something or, you know, someone or like, you know, get some shit off. But anytime I talked about things that were making me happy, just switch off. We'd suddenly just get the phone out and I was like, oh, I don't know what that is like...
See, this is why I started this podcast, because I love hearing about what makes people happy.
Oh my God. So I hope you don't mind. So I listen to loads of stuff, but I was feeling quite horny. And I think it's because I've just come off antidepressants. So suddenly my body's gone, oh, I'd quite like to rub myself against that. And I suddenly go, oh, that looks soft. Oh, what a nice bottom. I think I'm fertile. And I was lying in bed and I was ever so aroused. And I didn't know what to think about because everyone I was suddenly thinking about, I start thinking about my husband. And then I'd go, well, he really needs to finish those emails. And if he doesn't, and then I would get more cross that he hadn't done these fictional things I'd set up for him. So I couldn't, because we weren't living together at the time. So I went and bought on Audible the best erotic short stories of 2024. Ooh. Now, I hope you don't mind if I just play you.
Oh, not at all.
The opening, and this blew my mind. If you just listen to it for a bit.
Okay.
Bang, bang, take back your vengeance. Brooke was nervous as she approached the nightclub's door. It was now time for her to live out her deepest fantasy, one that would make her now ex-boyfriend jealous. The split had been horrific.
That's AI. That's an AI voice. Because I was listening and I was trying really hard to get into it. And then I found out, like, it says it's narrated by these people. The only books they've ever narrated is this one. And the voice goes up and down. So I entered the club.
Oh.
Hey, you.
Slight.
Hey, how are you doing? I would like to get railed. Because it's done it based on what it thinks the intonation of the sentence is rather than the subtext of
rather than the sexy times that you're...
It wasn't sexy at all, because then I started thinking about ChatGPT and then the economic viability of it and then about environmental changes. And
just ruined it for you.
Ruined it for me.
To
anyway.
be fair, I wouldn't have caught that that was the... I mean, maybe if I'd listened a bit more, but it sounds so realistic now, you know.
Yeah, so if you do want to listen to erotica, This Book Will Make You Feel Something by Florence Bark is like really good erotic short stories. And then in between each chapter, she explains different vaginal masturbatory techniques. And they're all read by people who have really sexy voices. And the stories are really good because they don't describe what the people's bodies look like.
Yeah.
So it's like very, you know, when you listen or read some... I sound like I only listen to erotica. Sorry. I'm also listening, like, I listened to 664 hours in 2024 and apparently it was predominantly fantasy. Right. Like, not erotic fantasy, but like things to do with dragons. It's mainly dragons and vaginas on my Audible, to be honest, guys. But yeah,
you are Game of Thrones target audience.
Oh my God.
When they wrote Game of Thrones, they were thinking about Elf. They were just like, dragons.
We've based this
vaginas
off the algorithm. We think this is for her.
So do you just listen to audiobooks wherever you go? If you're walking, if you're working, if you're at the gym, or you know?
Yeah, I listen to them on the gym when I'm in the gym, and I listen to them go to bed because otherwise I get worried. I lie in bed
then
and
that's when the thoughts come in.
And I wake up in the night and I'm like, oh God, I'm so worried. I'm there and I'm like, and especially because you were travelling all the time when you're like, the amount of times you spend your night in a travel lodge or a Premier Inn and you're like, who am I? I'm so frightened. I'm scared of the dark. And my partner doesn't like being touched in the night. So I have to sleep like right in the end of the bed. And I'm lying there going, I'm so scared. Put my audiobook on, listen to some AI erotica. I feel better now. That's what
I'm the same. Like I listen to a lot of Audible when I'm driving, because I'm driving up and down to gigs and things. And at the moment, I just started therapy, so I'm in a very...
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm in a very, like, therapy mindset. And I downloaded a book, which I know, like, the author, you either love her or hate her type person, it's Mel Robbins. And
I don't know who that is.
she's like an American self-help guru type person.
Oh my God, yes.
She's got is it the Let Them theories, her big one? Like, let them think that.
So this is her new book, Let Them.
Right.
So that only just came out. That's her newest one.
So what's it about?
She became famous for the self high five thing, and it was all very business focused. But now she's getting more into the like emotional well-being, and she has written this book called Let Them, and it's about. So I'm a massive control freak. I come from a long line of massive control freaks. My family are full of them. My father is a control freak, and it's basically about giving up control when you can't control something, and trying to let go of. So I'll think of the way that I want something to go, and if it doesn't go that way, and it'll be something random, like, do you know, something that I don't have very much control over anyway. I get really frustrated that it's not gone the way that I had imagined that this would play out. So it's all about kind of that. And there's like, I'm only onto the second section. There's 3 sections to it. So there's the let them, and then there's the let me. So let them do this. Like, and there's a specific bit about children, because obviously you can't just let children do whatever the fuck they want.
Just let them. Matches.
Let them. But
I only hear that by parents in cafes who are letting their kids ruin everyone else's day.
yeah, exactly. That's it. Because you can't just let kids.
No.
You know,
And kids don't like it. They like discipline.
yeah, they
Kids
need
fucking
boundaries.
love structure and boundaries.
Yeah.
They don't feel safe.
Yeah,
Like by people just let them do whatever they want.
Oh, whatever, and there's no consequences. So
paid £4.50 for this flat white. Your wee kid can shut up. Okay.
Yeah,
What's the living
exactly.
crisis?
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting, but I've started, as part of my whole like trying to rewire my brain, I've started to try and get my 10,000 steps in.
Cool.
Which is quite difficult.
10,000 is a lot.
It's 3.5 miles in my walking pace. So that's fine, but it is quite difficult. Most days I've managed it. Some days I'm like, oh, I can't fucking manage that today. So I'm going on my walks, I'm listening to my Let Them.
Good.
But it's been a big jump from, because previously all of my audibles have been about, like, I love a murder mystery, like I love a crime.
Oh my God. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to swap some with you after this.
And so it's been a very different, because a lot of the other things, if I'm listening to podcasts, a lot of it is like crime podcasts. Mm-hmm. I listen to so many of those.
Do they help you go to bed? Like how do they make you feel about your day and life and people?
Crime podcasts. Yeah. Because I realised I had to stop doing it. That was one of the reasons, was because it was making me feel quite depressed.
Yeah.
And mainly because of the millions of podcasts, crime podcasts that I listen to, 95% of them are women being murdered.
Yeah.
And probably 90% of those women being murdered are being murdered by someone they loved. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, yeah, this is grim, isn't it? Isn't it grim to be a woman, even in 2025? It's so hard.
So morbid, because I used to be big into true crime, and then I almost like had too much and had to stop. I don't know if it was when I got a bit older and I was just like, oh, it actually is making me worried now. But then I'm more actually probably was when I came on here and we talked about it. I then started listening to true crime again. So
Sorry.
I dipped my toe back in, but I used to love it, and then I'd take a massive break because I was like, this can't be normal, falling asleep to a crime podcast.
I don't fall asleep to them. That's the only thing that I do, unless I'm away gigging. But even then, what I tend to fall asleep to is nonsense on Netflix. Like at the moment, it's Parenthood, because it's got all the people from the 90s television that I liked.
There's a film, the TV show that I'm watching with my grandmother, Nanny Squeak, and she I went to stay with her and we were watching stuff on Netflix. A Man on the Inside, which is, it's bad to say it's Ted Bundy. It's not Ted Bundy. What is his name? The man he's a comedian, and he was, Oh God, it's not Ted Bundy. He's bad.
He is
and
yes.
dead. Good. But it's about an older man and he's grief stricken. He was an engineer and he goes undercover at an old person's home to find a thief. And it's just a really beautiful, really simple, really basic comedy show. Like very beautiful, easy structure. But it's just really lovely. Really lovely. And my nanny Squeak really enjoys it. And I find shows like that are really safe.
Yeah.
A safe show.
A nice safe. Nothing's gonna. Yeah. I like shows because I kind of came up in that 90s thing where there was shows where nothing really happened. It was just about people's lives.
Yeah.
Like the Gilmore Girls, just about people's lives. So this show has got Lauren Graham from the Gilmore Girls in it. Mm-hmm. Just after the Gilmore Girls, I think, finished, she did this show. And it's called Parenthood. And it's just about this family. And it's just general randomness about this family.
Yeah.
And like one of the kids has been diagnosed with autism. It's about these brothers and sisters, and her daughter's a bit wayward, and you know there's like pregnancy scares, and and I'm just like, yeah, it's just life, isn't it? It's quite like
It's just life.
Nothing dreadful is going to happen because you know it was like daytime TV or like kind of 7 o'clock in the evening TV, so nothing terrible is going to happen.
Yeah. I used to be obsessed with Crossroads.
Oh yeah.
Crossroads. I loved watching Crossroads. And then I used to watch it every day after primary school. And then I remember when I went to boarding school, I remember being very nervous. And then I found out they had a television. We had a television. There was this tiny room called The Snug. And I worked out I could watch Neighbours. I had time to watch Neighbours. And so I used to watch the same episode twice, every day. Because it was one time you could guarantee you could sit in a room with other girls. And and at lunchtime, the upper fifths, who were the 16-year-olds, would all watch Neighbours. So I'd sit with them and they were all very nice to me. And I was like, this is nice. It feels like I'm in a family. And then at the end of the school, when school actually finished at 5:30, so I'd run back to my dormitory just in time to watch it again at 5:35. And that was when the other fourths, the year 7s and the year 8s would watch it. And that's another family. And I used to like it because I loved, by the second episode, I knew exactly what was going to happen. Yeah. And I knew exactly, and I really enjoyed that. And that was my little bit of family consistency.
Oh.
I watched that twice a day. And that got me through being separated from my family.
I used to love Neighbours. I feel like it was Margot Robbie was in it when I was watching it, that sort of
era.
Wait, how old are you?
31.
Oh my God, she must have been in it when I was watching it.
Because we're the same age. Yeah,
who was she?
She was the blonde, and she went out with, his name's not Dingle, because that's probably racist to Australians. It was Dean, or maybe it was Dingle. I don't know. It was a guy, blonde, spiky hair.
Yeah.
She went out with him.
Okay.
Yeah, and she was.
Was this before or after his the bar got set on fire? That episode. The matron let us all stay up extra late to have toast because we were distraught. And do you remember the plane accident?
Yes.
Where oh my God.
My God.
And I remember when she was a model, she was 13 and she got selected as a model and she had to go, and the guy was taking nudes. And that was the most saucy episode. And Sky, and she had the crazy hair, and she wore a bikini and she was curvy. And we were all like, oh my God.
Are they allowed to do that?
She has got a pot belly and she's allowed on the telly. I'm sorry, what? Because this is when the OC came out, and so all of us were trying to get flat stomachs by becoming part-time anorexic. We were like, oh my God, no, you can be happy.
When I was in Australia in 2014, we did like the Neighbours tour. So we went to like Ramsay Street and all that. And it was brilliant. We went, you saw it. And then at the end, they have like a Neighbours star that comes to speak to you. So we had Dr. Carl.
That's cool.
Came, so it was cool. He was chatting to us, and at the end he was like, so my band's playing later if you want to come and see my band. And we were like, we good, Carl, but thanks very much.
It's so upsetting when you find out someone's creepy or just a bit.
It's just like, I was just a bit like, nah, we good. We're like,
you never forgive him for what he did to Susan. So.
Well,
oh my God, I remember she was in the audience of Wicked when we went to see Wicked when we were at school. And our teacher, Miss Stevens, she was like, girls, you are not allowed to talk to that woman. She is on holiday. She is on holiday. And we were all like, Miss Stevens, Susan from Neighbours is in the stalls. We've got to go. And she's like, you sit down, otherwise you won't be allowed home at Christmas. Like, okay.
Jay's Joy Killers.
Mm-hmm. So, Elf, what kills your joy? Again, can be big or small, you know.
I think it's probably parts of art. I hate it when I find out people have got opinions about me and they've not met me. Like, and I think that's probably more our thing in comedy, isn't it? Or like any industry, actually.
Yeah.
But I've heard, because your friends always tell you, and like when someone tells you something that someone said about you and you go, what? And you're trying to work out, and you go, but that person's never met me, or that person I've never had that conversation with, or yeah, things like that really upset me. Or when I hear people saying things about comedian or other artists or people you know, and you go, well, that's factually inaccurate. They're not like that, or that didn't happen, or that type of thing.
Grossly exaggerated.
Yeah. Like, we all love a gossip. Everybody loves a gossip. But I think the joy about gossip is it's not... Gossip shouldn't cause harm.
Yeah, it shouldn't
Gossip
be malicious.
should be like, oh my God, do you know so-and-so got together at a party? Oh my God, really? Did they? I really fancy him. I've heard he's got a really nice bottom. Oh my God. It should be like really like... Gossip should still have the same impact that it would have when you were 11 and you heard it. Is in, do you know what I mean? It should have like...
Rather than being like, she's a bitch, or like something.
Altering.
I really hate as well when if people are like, I don't know, I just don't like her. And I feel like that happens more to women. Like, there's something, like, I know when it like happens to like, loads of people say it about like people like Taylor Swift and stuff. And like, there's something about her, or female comics as well. Like, I'm like, why? There's no reason. You've just been primed in the media to think that women are annoying, that I've got anything to say.
And it's the thing is, like, a class thing, for example, because I feel like class dominates in the comedy world way more. But I've noticed this, women who are posh, and I think this is also because I've experienced it, like people who also don't know me, haven't had a conversation with me, you get the posh bitch. She's uptight. She really thinks she's this of herself. I'm like, it's so interesting how women get that. But boys who are privately educated are, you know what, he's a really good chap.
Yeah,
100%.
He's really good, actually. He's a nice guy. Yeah. Oh, he's so much fun. Like, he went to so-and-so, but and I always find the butter really problematic, because if you swapped it the other way, you go, can you imagine saying, oh, so-and-so went to this school, but it's really...
Yeah.
But with women, it's like, oh, because she's this, she must be this.
Yeah.
And you're like, do you not think everyone is just... The reason she probably comes in with her shoulders back and swishes and acts confident is because she's so upset or insecure or nervous, because maybe she was made to feel that everyone hates her, or is trying to do the thing that you celebrate all your close friends to do, but then you demonise.
100%.
That really annoys me. And people being really loud in spas.
Yeah.
I went to this, again, links to comedians. God, sorry, I sound like a bitch. Me and my partner, we went and joined a spa during Edinburgh, and we were there, and you go into a spa and you're quiet. You're just quiet. And there were 4 people, and I recognised all of them. And Sam didn't. He was like, what the fuck are those people doing? And they were so loud, like really loud, and talking very loudly about other people, talking really loudly about comedy, really loud. And I thought, there must be no one else, like, because we were in the sauna and we could hear them. And then I put my head out and I saw there was only one old person. There was an elderly person on the beds, so could clearly hear the 4 people in the pool. And I thought, if there were more people in the spa, would they have been quieter? And I bet they would have. But because it was only one person's presence didn't override their enjoyment of being the loudest people.
Yep.
Does that make sense? Like subconsciously going, oh, you actually, because there's only one of you, but there's 4 of us, we can dominate here.
Yeah. And maybe because it was an elderly person, it been a really good looking whatever, would they have maybe been, but if it was like someone that they don't see as, oh, well, it's just an old lady or whatever, we can just be how we want to be.
That's when I really hope that old lady was actually the head of the Fringe Society.
Yeah, absolutely.
It sounds really bitchy of me, and but it was something about it that just made me go, oh, this is something about people that makes me, or our industry, because sometimes you can attract lots of big egos, and I'm an ego, we're all narcissistic, we could all be. But it was just that lack of awareness of other people's living experience. Mm-hmm. Like, just because you might be on a few billboards and you're having, doesn't make you fucking Margot Robbie.
Yeah, exactly.
And I bet you Margot Robbie would be quiet.
Respectful. She would be
She,
respectful.
oh my God, you know Ryan Gosling's respectful in a spa.
Yeah.
You just know some people, you're like, Meryl Streep, I bet is silent.
She's so quiet.
You don't even notice her in the
Margot
steam
Robbie
room.
just having her sandwiches on the train between Glasgow and Edinburgh recently?
Who, sorry?
Margot Robbie.
Was she?
Yeah,
Good
there was
woman.
it was during the whole Barbie thing, and they were obviously over here doing some sort of press junket thing, And there was pictures at the time when she was like on the, I don't know if it was a Glasgow to Edinburgh, if it was a London to Edinburgh train, but just with her Marks and Sparks.
With our meal deal. Having a great time.
Our meal deal. And it was like, I'm on the train and somebody had done one of those ones.
Yeah.
Barbie with a meal deal. It's like, of course.
And that's
Barbie's
why people like that deserve to be successful. Because you're like, you're just getting on and you just work and you're just getting on with it.
Yep.
Yeah. Just doing life.
That type of, those things really annoy. I probably tells more about me being annoyed about those things.
What is the most ridiculous thing that you've heard about yourself?
Oh, I've heard some really shocking things.
Really?
None true. Do you know what? Someone came up to me and asked me if it was true I was an orphan.
I've been asking you.
Been asked if I was an orphan. I was like, no, but I'm glad that's my. I asked if I was an orphan. I remember that because I then got asked very recently if I was an orphan by a woman teaching a stained glass workshop, and I was like, I've been asked if I was an orphan before. Actually, I know it's someone
orphan vibe, like
orphan energy.
I thought I gave the person who killed your parents or took you away from your family. No, child, you come with me now.
Big Cruella vibes.
Yeah, that's my thing. I mean, I've heard things about me. So one thing I heard recently was someone came up to I put my friend in a tricky situation. She was talking about someone, and I was like, "Did this person say something nasty about me?" She went, "No." And I go, "Oh, go and tell me." And she went, "No, I don't want to tell you because it'll make you upset." And I was like, "Oh no, honestly, I'm not going to be upset." And then she told me, and I was like. What was it? The thing that this person said was, I'm too nice to be trustworthy. No. Too nice. What was that one? And I was like, oh, I think that's just being polite. Like, I don't think I'm nice. Like, I think I'm a nice, but I mean, I think
it's too nice to be trusted.
Too nice to be trusted, and I work with too many people. And I was like, no,
that is just...
That just sounds like jealousy.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Do you know what is funny? And I love this, and it's very well-meaning. I don't know who it is, but some comedians think I'm they, them, which I'm not. I go by she, her pronouns, but I love that someone's been correcting other people's use of she. Like, someone's been correcting my pronouns on my part, going... They're actually they, them. And I'm like, just because I've got short hair. Yeah. This sounds very, who knows? There's probably worse ones that are out there. I'm a massive flat earther. The earth is flat and 9/11 didn't happen. And I want
just
that
mainstream views.
So mainstream views.
And my one is that I'm scary. I get that one all the time. That I'm scary. I get You've never been scared of me, but we've had this in the pod loads.
We have,
that I am terrifying. That open spots think I'm really terrifying. And I'm what was it?
And who was it? It was your intimidating. Intimidating.
But like. I'm none of those things.
But also intimidating isn't a bad thing. If you're intimidating, that's how other people have chosen to proceed you.
It's not anything I have control over.
I mean, a lot of the time as well, I imagine like you're emceeing a lot of times, so you're busy.
But also,
you have to be quite strict when you're...
Yeah, you do.
I also think a lot of the newer scene, I think sometimes forget about... And I think there's been huge progress for women in comedy, so much. And I think, it's still complex now, but I think sometimes people forget just how different it was. Like when people talk about being a woman in comedy now, I'm like, it's nothing compared to what it was like 10, 15 years ago. And that was nothing compared to what it was like in the 80s. And I think sometimes, like I still remember when we did Late and Live and you were a fucking badass. I remember that gig and it was, it was like, I think it was an all of us female. Yeah. But there was like loads of boys in the green room, just male comics, absolutely fine. They're allowed to be there. Well, they weren't really meant to be there when it was the Late and Live gig. And they were just talking and just sort of were doing that thing where they dominated the space. Mm-hmm. They're not even performing, but they're drinking the alcohol. They're talking about reviews and just creating a really aggy energy. And I remember you just came in and you just kicked them all fucking out.
Hell yeah.
And I was like, that's the sexiest thing I've ever seen since I saw her be a washing machine. Wow. And I thought that was like, for them, maybe men think you're scary because you actually don't take the shit. And I think there's nothing more scary than someone who's like, no, you know what? You are getting in our fucking way.
Yeah, that. I do remember that evening very clearly because I was just like, oh no, I've had enough of you. I've had an absolute enough of you. Out. And they were so like, and I was like, they went, are you joking? And I went, do I look like I'm joking?
Oh my God, the sexiest thing.
They were like, oh. Ushered them all in. And I felt a bit bad because one of them wasn't as in. One of them was being putting us into the conversation. Susan Riddle was there as well. And he was being a bit more kind of thingy. But he was like, me too. And I was like, yes, yeah, run with the wolves. Like,
come on.
Not all men, but hashtag all men. Yeah. Get out.
All men, get out this room. We're going to have to, because we have to run off. But,
God, we've got to do gigs.
I know, we're going to do a gig.
I'm going to do loads of new material.
We can use that one another time.
Should we use that another time?
What was that?
This is Hannah's headline. Should we do it very,
let's do it
quickly?
Very quickly.
Oh my God, you look so beautiful.
No, this is
She thinks I look like a newsreader in this song, which is why we've
I think that's great.
So I pick a story every week that I've seen, something was interesting or brought me joy. And this week, just came out recently, is at Edinburgh Zoo are now, you can have a £2,000 to feed a tiger at the zoo. So there's these new experiences, premium high end. So you get like a lunch and you can feed up to 4 different types of animals. Mm-hmm. So yeah, $2,000 to feed a tiger at the zoo. I think that's an outrageous amount of money.
I think that's brilliant though, because what you realise, people will pay that. Think about all the things that's then helping offset, because it's like when you think about theatre tickets, you know, the premium ones, they're there because then it means you get all the £25 and £10 ticket ones.
I mean, it's actually a great idea to raise the money because they did it with the pandas. We had pandas here, and that was $5,000 to have a panda experience. I
feel like I would pay that if I had the money.
I mean,
I
think
$5,000.
It said there was 17 of them that did it, so that's £85,000 just in that. So that's an amazing amount of money, and it's the best way to raise it because, you know, they were having a hard time getting the tigers to take the feet pictures. So this was the best way to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think it's it's just Jay, you actually are a VIP member of the zoo.
I am.
I wonder if you might get a discount.
I might get a discount. I'm a bit upset that I found out about this through you and not
I
through my
thought you would have got a wee
weekly
email.
newsletter that the Edinburgh
wasn't in the Zoo
sent me.
News.
It wasn't my VIP.
Maybe you get a discount. Do you think you get a discount?
I do get. Well, I don't know if I get a discount in that. I get a discount. Like if I get in for free.
Do you? Do you get to bring a friend?
I get to bring a friend and they get discounted tickets.
Okay, what are you doing tomorrow? I was going to go and ask you originally if you wanted to take me to the airport.
We'll go to the zoo. Yeah. I mean, also, I feel like at the moment their animals keep dying.
Well,
what at the zoo?
At the Edinburgh Zoo, yeah. So the red koala died, and then they got a what was it they got? And I got the letter to tell me it was dead. That's how you know I'm a VIP member.
Do you get invited to the funeral?
Cleo, she was called Cleo. She's a
well, that's her name, and that's what matters.
Cleo,
she had a nice life.
Spotty leopard.
Leopard?
Was she a leopard?
Maybe.
You're about to really shame Cleo if you got this wrong.
She was either a leopard or the other spotty type cat. Because there's 2.
Cheetah?
Yeah. Cleo the cheetah. I think she was a cheetah.
Okay.
Anyway, she died, and the 2 red panda died, and because of the fireworks.
Was it the fireworks?
Yeah, Cleo died because of a urinary tract infection. But they keep dying, so I think the bloody zoo needs the money.
I know. So it's $2,000 to go for 2 adults, and then it's only £1,000 for an extra adult, and then £500 for a kid. Like meat, and it's like tongs through the. On the BBC, you had to clarify that it was tongs through a fence. You weren't actually getting to go into the enclosure and feed them with your hand, because I'm sure some people would have thought that.
I think I'm going to have to go because my phone is now buzzing, and I think that's probably the monkey barrel going,
be like, where the hell are you? Okay, Elf, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for
Do you want
having me.
to quickly tell people where they can find you, what you're up to?
So you can listen to my podcast about economics called Elfonomics, which I do with my dad, and we talk about the price of why coffee is so expensive, why can't you borrow a house, and why a theatre ticket's so expensive. And I'm also going on tour with my award-winning show. I hate saying that, but it feels quite nice.
Yeah.
Horses, which is going all around Australia from February to May, and then all around the UK, May to June, and then who knows what will happen next.
Lovely. Thank you so much for watching, everybody.
See you next weekend.